and that's something God's woke me up to, is just the reality that, like, I have a lot of things to work on, and those things are going to come to the surface at some point for other people, like, to see, and I need to work on those right now.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome back to the Kingdom Advance podcast, episode 11. We took a minor break to practice social distancing. I'm someone who's quality over quantity, so the last thing I wanted to do was get a bunch of people on Zoom and then have that audio on the podcast. So we took a few weeks off, coming back. My hair's shaggy. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling rough. I've never been this tore up in my life. No, I'm ready for everything to open, so I get my hair done.
Yeah. Get
the nails back on point. But it is what it is right now.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about how to stay sane during this. I don't know how long this will last, but even going forward after the pandemic, how to stay sane. We got Jasmine Barnett, my fellow coworker, my boss, colleagues. My friend. You're the first, reoccurring guest, but you're kind of one of those people that's going to be on a lot of episodes.
I'll pop in and out.
Yeah. But you're our first recurring guest. How's it feel?
Feels good. Glad to be back.
Yeah. And when you were first on the episode, obviously everything was different.
Yeah. This was not here. This is nice.
We got some sound carpet now.
We're on the come up. I was the ghetto test.
You were the guinea pig, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I want to get right into it, and we'll kind of backtrack a little bit and talk about kind of our experience in the last, I guess, 2 months, because we haven't been in the office working since March, maybe the beginning of March or
mid-March, probably
kind of mid-March.
We went out.
So we haven't really been together too much. Do you have any good stories that have happened in the last 2 months?
Gosh, good stories. I think the funniest thing that I've seen happen is like the Andy fireside chats.
Yeah.
I think that's hilarious at 5. It takes, he's good. He's doing good leadership.
So if you're not from Kentucky, our governor has been doing a briefing at 5 o'clock every day. They've been turning out really good, and he's had some funny moments in there.
Oh, yeah. I think my favorite one is the Tupac Shakur incident. So apparently somebody was filing for unemployment via the website, and they're putting in their name as Tupac Shakur, and they thought it was a joke. Naturally, I'm going to think it's a joke. If somebody types me an email, Tupac Shakur, well, it turns out this guy was legit.
He's trying to get his paycheck.
He needed his money. He said, I've been hurting for weeks. Y'all playing around. And so the governor had to get back and do like an apology video to Tupac Shakur. So
and it all turned out as a little bit of a joke.
Yeah, a little joke. But I knew Kentucky was the best state because Tupac lives here. So
that's awesome.
It is what it is.
Man, I've had a lot of interesting moments, because I think when you're at home or just your routine's completely thrown off, you're gonna have those moments that you didn't expect. And we were doing a live recording for your church last night in Albany, Kentucky, and we went down there. And that was my second time ever in Albany.
Yeah.
And so your church, it's kind of like the town's set up as a square, right? Mm-hmm. And then your church is kind of on a corner.
Right on the corner. On the
So I pull into the church, we do the live recording, and in my head, I guess now, in my head, I thought, I'll just turn the way I came in.
Yeah, go back the way you came.
It's a 2-lane road. So I was like, all right, the right side is for people going the opposite way. Well, I pull out. The moment I pull out, this car coming the opposite way, just laying on its horn. I'm like, dang, he's mad at somebody. And so I keep going, and I see 4 cars in the distance, just going wild. They're swerving. The one's blinking their lights. Another one's honking their horn. I was going the wrong way in a one-way. And I think that was the moment I was just like, I don't even know how to drive anymore. I've been in my house, but it's been, for me, it's been kind of good to slow down.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's been weird for me too, because I've not had anybody affected by the virus. Mm-hmm. And so, have you had anybody
no, not directly, like a family member or anything.
Yeah, and so it's just weird if you don't.
One of my friends right now, actually, though, is she worked the bus route. She's a teacher, and so they delivered meals during the quarantine. and she was in contact with somebody who was.
Yeah.
So she's been quarantined for like 14 days, of course.
So you're kind of getting a glimpse.
Yeah, and so she was struggling. Like, she's struggling with not having human interaction. And I was like, yeah, but she isn't positive. She's good.
But it's weird, though, to an extent, because if you don't have someone, like, affected by it and it's not affecting you, it's kind of hard to take it serious at points.
You're, like, just living in this world. Like, what is going on? I know we've had people from our church just be like, I don't know about this. Like, it's not that serious.
Right.
Why aren't we having service? And so in leadership, you combat those things, because if you're not directly affected, you feel like you're doing something that kind of hurts the whole rather than helps. But you're really just trying to protect people, and so making that call is hard. It's difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think being in a rural area, especially, we've seen it somewhat, but not as much as other people. So our mindset's definitely different.
Yeah, and we definitely still need to, obviously take it serious.
For sure.
And I think this goes hand in hand with, like, just a normal person, like, walking every day, but also, like, as a church.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want to dive into. We want to dive into both of those two sides today. How can we look ahead and stay sane during and after this time? And I don't think saying after is very, very vague and very loose, because I don't think there's an after.
No, I think it's just throughout.
It's throughout. And I guess one of the things I'm comparing it to is the moment where, like, 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
And before 9/11, like, that was never a thing. That was never a thought. Obviously, like, a virus is a thought, but
for sure,
never, like, having to wear masks when you go out. Signs on the, like, ground that say, hey, you have to be 6 feet apart.
I feel like I'm living in a movie.
Right.
Legit. I was thinking about that the other day. I was in Walmart. Everybody had masks on almost, except for a few people. And I was like, this is just unreal. And I don't even know if some of us have taken time to stop and pause and think about what we're in. And at that moment, for me, it was like, this is just like I'm in a bad movie or a bad dream that this has happened. What was that movie on Netflix a couple years ago with the blindfold? And, like, if you took it off.
Bird Box?
Yeah, Bird Box. You know, and whoever thought that would be something close to reality. But it's kind of like one of those Netflix originals.
Right. And before before all this happened, if someone was wearing a mask in public, you just kind of like, like, what are you doing? What are they doing? Like, nothing's. And now it's like, if you're not wearing a mask, you're the one who's like, whoa, we need to get away from that person.
Everybody running from you.
So, with all that being said, looking forward we'll start as individuals. Like, how can we stay sane during this time? Let's say this lasts for 2 more months. So during those 2 months of isolation, what are some ways you think that we can kind of just grasp? And we've had this theme the last few episodes of, like, mental, emotional, and physical health. Maybe, like, how can we stay sane with all three of those incorporated?
Oh, gosh. Okay, for me, I'm an extrovert, 99.9%, like, to the T, an extrovert. I get energy from being around people,
right?
From doing things, being out. And so I've had to keep some kind of consistency in a schedule. And whether it be I get up and I get dressed, or I've incorporated things I don't like as much, like working out. I think in the past I make excuses for it because it's a harder thing, a harder discipline. But I think including the harder disciplines and trying to keep them in your routine as we start to reopen as a country, I think that's important. And just I have to have some type of routine. And I've been working from home. We've been working from home a little bit. And so doing different things. And also finishing another master's degree in grad school. So I think it's important to make a schedule of something and keep it that way. So your mind is stimulated, whether you're an introvert or extrovert. You need some type of schedule. And that's what they're encouraging parents who have kids at home. Try to keep them on a schedule and a routine. I think that's important. And also just having fun. I think in embracing the people that are in your life, my family who I've been around, and then I have I call them my extended family. So I've been around my extended family a lot. And so we've just been able to do stuff that we would not normally do if we be business as usual. So playing cards, board games, hanging out, cooking together, just enjoying each other genuinely, and not as much being on the phone or social media, but just like being present with each other. And I think one of the cool things about this is the art of fellowship is going to come back around, and people are going to enjoy being around each other as much as possible.
Not take it for granted either. I think there was so much we were taking for granted, just the simple gathering of people. And have you noticed? Has your time frame of like when you wake up and go to sleep shifted at all?
Oh, I'm all over the place. Some days I was going to bed really early, getting up really early, and now I'm late and still trying to get up kind of early. So
that's how I am. Weird. I'm like, because I love waking up in the mornings, but now it's hard to wake up because I'm staying up late. Because it seems like the whole time frame of a day has just like moved back a few hours, where people aren't working from an office, so they're not like having to get up, and there's nothing really going on at 8 a.m.
Nothing going on at 8 a.m.
So there's no like reason to get up because there's no news or anything.
Yeah. I got a little work call at 9 on Tuesday, so I know that's my day. I need to be up.
Yeah.
My mind needs to be going so I can be present. But other than that, I mean, no.
It's tough.
Yeah.
And that may be one of key things like going forward, setting that schedule, setting that routine. That's really important for any type of mental health too. Mm-hmm. Even if you're not a planner, like you don't have to be a planner just to wake up, at a good, decent time of the day.
Right.
And when we go back to work, you're gonna thank yourself for that later.
Yeah, you're gonna be more appreciative.
Yeah. And so, one of the things that I thought when I was kind of thinking like how to stay sane during this time, how to stay sane in, the moments following is to plan. I've never had this much time to plan.
Me neither.
There were a lot of things that I wanted to, I want to accomplish in my life.
For sure.
I want to, like start a business. I want to do this. And I've always had excuses for reasons why I couldn't do it. And now, like, all those reasons have faded. And I'm, like, sitting, at my desk during quarantine. And I'm looking at all my things that I wanted to get accomplished, all my goals. And I'm, like, thinking of those excuses that once were there, but now there's no excuses. Removed. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like this is real.
I was thinking about that. I guess it was a couple of weeks ago. I was trying to find my friend. I thought he tweeted it, but I'm guessing he put it on his story. Shout out to Ramel Freeman. He lives in Arizona. And one of the things that he posted was during this time, if you don't develop a hobby, a new hustle, do something you've been putting off, you weren't a busy person. You just weren't a disciplined person. Mm-hmm. And so I think that becoming more disciplined is definitely a thing. I know for me, I have flipped my house. It is incredible. I got to painted the house.
Nice.
It looks good. I'm getting rooms how I want it. Doing things what I want to do. Actually going to set up a podcast studio in my house to do something that I've been wanting to do for a while. And so I think it's important that you come out of this with a new hustle, a new hobby, that you're productive, that you gain more discipline. Because really, if you don't, you're just lazy and you're wasting time.
Yeah.
And you're not being a good steward of what God's given us, because I think you got to look at the goodness in this time and the positives more than we focus on the negatives, because there has to be something good that can come out of having more time for solitude, to hear from the Lord, having more time to be with family, having more time, like you said, just to sit at your desk and like to process your thoughts and to process what you want to do and to evaluate. And so I think that that's a really a key thing is to become more disciplined in whatever it is. I know that's what I'm trying to do in a lot of areas of my life that I don't always have time to focus on. So
let's say someone's listening to this, and for us it's a little different. We live in central Kentucky, and the space we have at our homes may be a little bit different from someone who's listening to this maybe in New York.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe like here on campus, but they're still in the dorms. They're confined. So like when you think of discipline for them during this time, what is that kind of?
Oh, goodness. I mean, it could be
maybe just writing a list of things, like the simplest things, and just like feeling accomplished.
Yeah, doing that. Maybe it's making contacts with people you haven't contacted or reached out to in a long time. I grew up living in an apartment, and so my mom still lives in an apartment in that confined space, so she can't really do house projects, work projects. But I've seen her be intentional with people, checking on our family who are out of state, calling, texting. I think that's always something you can do. That's one thing I've always been driving home this whole time is check on people around you. And another thing that I've been doing that anybody can do is use your social media to encourage people, and it's also a way to check on people. Every day I've tried to on my Instagram story. I'm trying to be more engaged. I'm trying to be, an influencer like you guys on social media. But I've been posting a story of preachers, and Michael Todd, he's a beast. I love him. And so whether it's him, whether it's Darius Daniels or somebody else, I try to post something encouraging on my story so somebody can see it. Because I know I get viewers. I know people are watching. And I've seen just a lot of fruit come from that. And people write me and, hey, like that really impacted me. And so you can be effective from anywhere. And whatever platform you have, wherever you are, use it, and to encourage people. And just whether you're a believer or not, you can be a blessing to somebody.
Oh, yeah.
You can still show love to people, whether you know the Lord or not. So I think that's important.
With everything you just said, I think that goes hand in hand. Talking about discipline, there's going to be so much discipline in relationships during this time, or there already has been in this time. You think about maybe a married couple who has been fighting and putting things aside. Well, now they're in the house every day, and they have to address it. And if you're one of those people, this is the time to address it. Or if you've got some broken friendships, like call those people up, because that's gonna stay with you more than cleaning the house is one 100%. Day. Oh, sure, you got to clean the house, but like calling that person that things aren't good with, that's one of the ways to stay sane, is just binding broken relationships. Now talking about like planning ahead kind of from a church aspect. Now you're on staff in Albany, First Baptist. What does this look like from a church aspect going forward? I
think it depends a lot too on your church's context. And so our church is evolving, changing, doing some things different, which is really good. I'm glad about that. But you really have to move people forward sometimes. And so we've been moving some of the, not all of our older people, but a lot of them, we were doing virtual stuff together on Zoom. We're doing meetings via Zoom. So getting that component of technology and incorporating it.
I think the church without technology is, it's about done. It's about done now.
It's not going to exist.
It's just reality.
People are going to have to learn to embrace it, whether they like it or not. And I think, God is funny, and this could be his way of kind of all those people who have been going against it. Like, you have to embrace it now, or you won't exist. And so I think it's very important for people to be adaptable during this time and be flexible and change, because we're going to continually change. Things are going to continually change as the governor gives out our governor, your governor, whoever gives out mandates from leadership. We have to take those calls and those cues, and so we have to be very flexible. And that's one thing that I'm going to stress. Sunday we're doing a Zoom call in our church about how when we go back, we're going to be continually changing things, and we have to prep people for that change. We have to prep the people in our congregation to know, this Sunday we may be 2 services. The next Sunday we may be all together and spread out. It's just going to look really inconsistent for a while. But I think people will embrace it because they're ready to be back.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And even if a church isn't able to like fully grasp the concept of being back, and I totally get it. Like, I mean, there's like, I've changed as a person, and I was kind of one of them careless people that wouldn't have cared about this. And my perspective has totally changed. With that, I had a great thought. Where did it go? I had a great thought in my head just now.
It'll come back.
But I was also wanting to talk about reflecting. That thought will come back as I reflect. But during this time, I've done a lot of reflecting, and this weekend I graduate college.
It would have been a perfect weekend.
Yeah, it would have been a perfect weekend.
If you're a Kentuckian, Kentucky Derby weekend. It'd have been, the weather's gonna be incredible. You would have had a great weekend.
I would have had a great weekend, graduation, done with school.
And this was a cool graduation for me, for you all,
because you got a lot of friends. My
very close friends are graduating. You and JP and Mildred and just a couple of people I really am close to, Michaela Wright. And you guys were kind of like, when we started the program, Church Outreach, you were like my first group. Other than Cassie McKenna, I don't leave them out. But so it would have been really incredible to see you guys walk across. So I feel I'm mourning the loss with you guys. But
but it's caused me to reflect a lot, and my thought came back to me.
Yay.
So even with moving towards more of a technological church, and it's going to have to happen, I think it's important because we can get into this like corporate mindset when we start dealing with technology, when we start dealing with like algorithms of how we can get people to see posts and all that stuff. It can become very corporate. And if you're like a church leader in this time, it's going to be really important moving forward that and it sounds simple, but look, we have to stay grounded. We have to stay faithful. And I think there's that disconnect when we're not with people, that we forget that part, and we just think about well, we got to get the recording done. Well, we got to get this done. Well, have we prayed over the recording?
Right.
Well, have we prayed over the service, and how still God's going to lead each church in a different direction, even though we're kind of going on this online platform now. God's still going to use each church in a specific way, for a specific manner, for specific people. And I think it's through prayer and through like every day asking God as our church, what does he want for the future? And that's going to look so different for everybody. I think that's very important for anyone listening that's in a leadership position at a church. What is God going to try to do in your church in these next moments and in these next like months or years? I think that's really important. And even for the individual that's in their home, like, what is God trying to do through you during this time? What new creative aspect is he trying to spark that you've been putting aside? What friend do you need to go back and reach out to? But moving forward, reflecting, creating, putting different things in your hobbies, doing things. I want to go back to this that you mentioned a little bit, doing things that you may not like, that will stick with you. Has there been some other things you mentioned, maybe working out? Has there been anything else that you've done?
There's been more. Outside of working out, I would say I love to read. I just don't always have time for it.
Right.
And so in the month of April alone, I've read roughly 3 books.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's almost a book a week, if you think about it. And my mind has been expanded, my brain's getting stimulated, thinking about stuff and ideas. And not only that, but being in the Word and making a discipline to just sit down and read the Bible, read the text, study the Bible. Because in ministry and leadership, sometimes we get guilty of preparing for this event or that thing. But we have to be in our Word for us and for our own personal growth. And I think focusing on just journaling, and reflection in general, not always our favorite thing to do or my favorite thing to do, but I've been enjoying that more. And I think also that one-on-one discipleship aspect with people has been really key. There's a couple of guys in my youth group that I've just tried to be over-intentional with in this time, because I see a lot of leadership in them. And that's another thing, developing people that you see potential in right now. You have the time for it, like no other, whether it's virtually or not. I know that my time on Zoom with those guys and getting in the Word and listening to a sermon and breaking it down isn't spiritually encouraging them. And so it's my job to build people up. And maybe they need to be the next student pastors at our church. I should never want to be peaking at the role I'm in.
Right.
I should always want to bring people along so they can continually take my spot, so God can move me on to other things. So I think that my eyes have been open in how key it is in mentoring people in this time and discipling people and making time for that, because it is impactful and people take that away and they will grow from it.
I think that's where your heart truly is during this time, because it's going to take some effort to reach out to people.
Yes.
And you don't have to. I
can sit at home on my couch every day, just chill. And
where's your heart truly at? And I think what it's taught me in the last 2 months is that I've got some things to work on.
For sure.
I think when you go throughout your day, like just work or whatever, you can kind of put aside the things you're not good at or you need to improve at. But even when you're at home all day and you just it sounds silly, but when you just spend a day with yourself, does that make sense?
No, it makes 100%
You realize how terrible of a person you may be.
I have got some work to do.
Right.
I was thinking about that just in my own little disciplines, cleaning my house, little things. And so my house is the cleanest it's ever been. Right. It's going to stay that way. But also just in personal reflection and walk and growth, I think 100%. I thought I was a productive person before. No, I was just the juggling person. Yep. And now I think I'm a more productive human. Right. From being through this process.
Yeah, and I don't think just because your work or whatever has a lot of things that you have to do, that don't make you productive.
No.
That just means you got a long task sheet. And really, if you're productive, shouldn't you have not a lot of things to do?
It should be shorter.
Yeah, and so that's taught me a lot about myself. Is when I think of the word productive, on days that I'm really busy, I'm productive that day. Well, no, when things are where they're supposed to be and I'm done with everything, those are the days because because I have a really bad problem with procrastination.
I think
we all do
to an extent.
And so that's taught me a lot. Is like, all right, well, if God wants to do what he truly wants to do in my life, I'm going to have to start doing it when he wants me to do it.
And having that
not when I want to do it, not when it's the last second, because it's been really easy during this time for me to just like put things on the back burner, like especially with classes, put them on the back burner and then just make up like, oh, I've been really busy during quarantine, and that's something God's woke me up to, is just the reality that like, I have a lot of things to work on, and those things are going to come to the surface at some point for other people, like, to see, and I need to work on those right now.
Yeah, and the key is fixing them and changing them, and we're not ever going to be perfect, but we can always be progressing and growing, and so I think that's important and key especially during this time. If you don't start to reflect on who you are and grow from those weak areas, then you're just being complacent. And you don't want to grow, really, if you think about it and evaluate it. So, but yeah, back to our church. I know one thing is just really establishing a good plan that's going to keep people safe, but also spiritually encouraged. And I think the being together is key. Yesterday, I took some of my students from church. We went on a social distancing fishing trip. Nice. So we were spread out around the lake. It was fun. And people know me like, you don't like to fish or do those things, but I do. I'm country back.
It's the new normal.
It's the new normal of adapting and doing things that you haven't.
If you're not an outdoors person, you might as well be an outdoors person.
Start being an outdoors person. And so we had a good time. And I think also just some of my students who were there who wouldn't have fished before or done that, they were doing it and they were enjoying it. And so that taught me that we can be progressing and we can do things in any situation. We can do things. It's all about what we want to do. It's not that I can't, it's that you don't want to. And so I think that I've learned that a lot. I can be intentional with my students over the phone, on Zoom. A lot of times I don't want to. But we can. So I think
I was gonna mention this. We did a little question on our Instagram, and I'll link our Instagram below if you're not already following us. But I said, what has been the hardest thing about COVID-19? And literally every response was not seeing people, not being able to hang out with our friends and stuff. And while that is true, like we love just like being physically like with someone, just reach out to people during this time. It's so simple. You got more time probably than ever just to get on a FaceTime call, reach out to the person that you've not been reaching out to. And if like you're still listening to this episode, maybe there's a reason, because you needed to get to this point. And even like me just saying that one person came to your mind that you needed to reach out to. And so I encourage you, reach out to that person, see how they're doing during this time, because if you're having a hard time during this time, it's likely that a lot of other people are having a hard time.
Oh yeah.
And so do you have anything to kind of end on with that being said?
If you're having a hard time, reach out to people. Reach out to somebody you trust. And if you are doing well during this time and that person came to your mind, then don't hesitate to reach out to them, because they came to your mind for a reason. That's something that God's continually taught me. If he lays somebody on my mind or my heart, it's for a reason, and it's with intended purpose. And so make sure that you're doing that and be adaptable. Continue to adapt, grow, and evolve during this time. If I could leave this quarantine with anything, it's that flexibility is key. In everything, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, just being flexible. So I think those are really big takeaways for me.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Whatever you were holding on to and whatever you thought would never be able to leave, I think this has opened us all up to whatever we have, it can be taken away
at any moment.
In an instant.
We are not in control.
Sports are taken away. Gone. You thought the NBA could never be taken away? Well, it's gone for now. But thank you guys for listening. If you're still listening, that's been episode 11 of the Kingdom Advance podcast. Until next time, peace.